Hey guys, Eckhart's Louder here. Hello and welcome to another episode of Star Wars Starship Versus, the series where I take two ships within the Star Wars universe, put them head to head, and try to predict which one would come out on top. Or at least that's what I typically do. For the past couple days, I've been focusing on cross-universe matchups, putting Halo against Star Wars, and that's again what we're doing today, with the Pelican from Halo going against the LAAT Gunship from Star Wars. This matchup has been suggested a few times, and I'm not sure which one of you actually suggested it most recently, so if that was you, make sure to let me know down in the comments so I can say thank you. So yeah, we're taking the famous Halo troop transporter and putting it up against another troop transporter, the clone LAAT Gunship. And we're going to be comparing these two ships in three different categories: offensive systems, defensive capabilities, and then also intangibles where things like speed and maneuverability will come into play. But it's not a race to see which ship wins more categories, and I'm going to try to figure out which one of these two craft is best overall. Neither of these ships are going to have any sort of backup crew. The only people they have on board are the pilots, the co-pilots, and any gunners that the ship would ordinarily have. We're also presuming that the two vessels are piloted by people of equal skill. I should clarify, when talking about the Pelican, we're using the D79H-TC variant, the kind you pilot in Halo 4. And although this is really my least favorite variant of the Pelican, it's the one with the most weapons and the one that I think will make the most interesting matchup. Alright, so let's get started with the first category, weaponry, and we'll take a look first at the low altitude assault transport, the LAAT Gunship. Despite its name, the LAAT Gunship was really more of a transport ship rather than a mobile weapons platform. This is manifested by a bulkiness, a pretty slow speed, and a lack of any sort of shielding. However, the ship is still fairly well armed. It had 4 composite laser beam turrets. 2 of these were manned and were behind the cockpit, and 2 of these were automatic on the wings of the ship. In addition, it had several varieties of missile launchers, and these were shown to be quite powerful, and it had automated anti-personnel laser turrets with 2 on the front and 1 on the back. So really, this ship is packed full with weaponry, and I mean, the laser turrets especially allow gunners to hit targets in almost every direction. That being said, there's one scene in Attack of the Clones which does make me question how effective these lasers are against airborne targets. When chasing Count Dooku, a clone pilot doesn't fire on him because apparently they don't have ammo, despite the fact that, again, the ship should have sufficient lasers to attack with. I think this can probably be waved away as something that was necessary for the plot to move forward, but still, it makes me question how effective these lasers actually would have been. Alright, so let's turn now to the G79H-TC Pelican, and unlike the LAAT Gunship, and really unlike most Pelicans, this was more of a gunship rather than a transport ship. And this was actually one of the only Pelican variants to be actually armed in any sort of meaningful way. It had 4 main weapons, and the first was an autocannon, essentially a very heavy machine gun. This is shown to be quite powerful. It can fire very quickly and was able to shred Covenant dropships without really any difficulty. It also had a secondary Spartan laser which draws power from the ship and can be fired after a few seconds of charging time. Additionally, it had 3 other secondary heavy machine gun turrets which would have been operated by a co-pilot. So the question is, which ship is better armed? And this one is really difficult to answer. You've got the Pelican, which is, in my mind, fairly conventionally armed. Its focus is machine guns, heavy weapons, and also a Spartan laser, giving it a bit of versatility. However, with the dropship, you have seeking rockets, you have laser cannons, and you have auto turrets. Really well armed, but I'm not sure if the weaponry is as powerful. So for that reason, I am going to call this category a tie. Alright, so let's talk about defensive capabilities, and we'll start with the Pelican. The G79H-TC is clearly much more resilient than previous models. The ship can easily shrug off heavy plasma shots from enemy phantoms and continue about its day. And I mean, this is a big upgrade because we saw, for example, Foehammer in Halo 1 die after an encounter with a Banshee. And again, much of this draws from the fact that this Pelican is actually more of a mobile weapons platform rather than a fast transport ship. It's meant to take a few hits and keep going. I don't think the same can be said about the LAAT Gunship. I mean, we see, especially in episode 2, that one transport is pretty easily destroyed by a couple of Geonosian fighters. We also see that the transport module is typically wide open, which I'm sure exposes some vulnerabilities. And really, the ship just does have a kind of fragile look to it. So with all that being said, I'm going to give this category to the Pelican. So finally we have intangibles, and I think the main things that we have to look at here are speed and maneuverability. I should preface this part of the conversation by saying that this matchup will be happening in atmosphere, not in space, because that would be completely different and the ships probably handle very differently. In atmosphere, the LAAT Gunship has a maximum speed of 620 kilometers per hour, and this is actually a lot faster than I anticipated because the ship does not have a very aerodynamic design. But to be fair, I guess when you do go back and watch the Battle of Geonosis, there are a couple of moments where those ships really are flying. The Pelican, on the other hand, is a little bit slower than I thought. The Halo Waypoint official page puts the maximum speed at between 671 and 903 kilometers per hour. Because we're dealing with the heaviest Pelican model available, I'm going to use the lower number, so 671 kilometers per hour, putting these ships effectively with the same top speed. However, I think the Pelican is much more effective at moving laterally than the LAAT Gunship. It's got thrusters on the side rather than the LAAT Gunship, which seems to only have engines at the back. This allows the Pelican to almost strafe, and I think that will give it a pretty big advantage in the upcoming battle. Also notable is that the Pelican is a little bit longer, wider, and taller than the LAAT Gunship, about 1.5 times as large, so it will be a bigger target. With all of that being considered, let's now move to the actual matchup. The Pelican and the LAAT Gunship face off head to head. Which one comes out on top? The first thing that I want to mention is that I really like both of these ships, and one thing that's kind of interesting is that they both have that kind of rounded, sunken cockpit design, which is kind of cool. I also do want to say that I think that this is truly the only Pelican which would have any sort of shot at beating the LAAT Gunship. The other variants are just not well armed or armored enough to really stand a chance. But of course, we're dealing with this model, so that point is moot. So both of these ships are fairly well armed, and I think the LAAT's best weapon here is its ship-to-ship missile launcher. Any good pilot's first reaction when coming across the Pelican will be to launch these missiles at it, and I'm sure some of them will hit. However, the Pelican is a very, very resilient gunship, so it will probably take these hits and continue flying. I mean, we saw during Halo 4 that the ship can take a pretty impressive beating. The first thing that the Pelican is going to want to do is start moving laterally, get away from the front of the LAAT gunship, away from its missiles, and at the side or either at the back. And I think that here its superior maneuverability and its slightly superior top speed will help it out in battle. Once it's at this advantageous position, it can start firing with its heavy weapons and its Spartan laser, and I think that these will really do some serious damage to the gunship. I mean, we've seen the gunship be taken down with pretty simple laser fire from the Geonosian starfighters. I think the Spartan laser at least can output that amount of energy. While at the side of the LAAT, the Pelican will be dealing with the ship's wings and manned laser cannons. Again, in Attack of the Clones, it was kind of suggested that these aren't very effective against other starfighters or ships. That being said, I don't fully believe that, but I still don't think that those weapons will be able to output enough power to actually take the very well-armored Pelican down. And really, I think that's what this entire battle comes down to. Unless the LAAT can somehow track the Pelican very effectively and hit it with a few rounds of missiles, I just think that the Pelican is too fast, too well-armored, and too well-armed to actually lose this battle. And it's another one of those cases where really just the type of vehicle really makes this matchup a little unfair. The Pelican is a true gunship, while the LAAT is more of a transport ship that can also do some damage. It makes sense that the more specialized Pelican thus would come out on top. Admittedly, I could have chosen another Pelican variant, but I just didn't really think that there were any that would make it close. So I give this battle to the D79H-TC Pelican, and I say it wins about 7.5 times out of 10. The only chance that the LAAT gunship really has is if it can fire off enough missiles to take the ship down before it can get in a dangerous position. Alternatively, perhaps I'm underestimating the strength of its composite beam laser cannons, but I don't think so, and I'm going to stick, for now, with the Pelican dropship. But I would love to hear what you guys say, so let me know down in the comments who you think would have won, if I did a good job with this matchup, if I missed something, if there's something you'd like me to know about these two ships, anything at all. Also, take a second right now to vote in the upper right-hand corner and let me know which ship you think would have won. Finally, if you haven't already, make sure to put your suggestion for next video down in the comments. I always look at the top rated ones for good ideas, so if you see one that you like, also make sure to give that a thumbs up and leave it a supporting comment. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate your continued viewership. May the Force be with you.